UIC. Freedom the people of need. Hell yeah. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. I see around the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them I go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep.
Another show. Oh, I think you can't hear me. Let me, you know, please forgive me. I'm here talking to myself because I was muted. But let me say it again. Welcome, welcome, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UIC, Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson. I'm the president of the UIC, and I'm really happy to be here tonight to share some more thoughts with you on happenings in our country. And yeah, uh, I'm very happy to be on with you. I'm getting some signals here from our management, but I think everything is okay now. You can hear me, right? Everybody can hear me. I hope you can hear me clearly. Yeah, can you hear me? Welcome, Janet, Conroy Boa, JM, Latoya, Smile, yeah, Owen, Latoya, Smile, Owen, Aljo. Good evening, good night, good day to all of you. Glad you can hear me. Good to see you, Annalicia Gillespie, Marlon. Excellent. So tonight we have a special guest that's coming on with me, somebody who has made a phenomenal contribution to the UIC, a young man who cares about our country deeply and has some thoughts on different aspects of life in Jamaica and how things are going. So tonight I'm going to be talking with him and I'm going to be talking with you as well. So let's begin. Um, as you know, Jamaica is going through a very difficult period. The world is going through a very difficult period. We are talking about um, pandemics. We're talking about government's response to those pandemics. We're talking about severe economic challenges, inflation, severe rising prices that's really affecting all of us in a tremendous way. We're also dealing with many changes in our governance, whether it's our friends in Barbados or a prime minister talking about the death penalty and all that kind of stuff. Many other laws being passed behind the scenes that we don't even hear about. Many of you probably don't even know that our central bank is now in private hands, having been quietly passed to the private side of things by our government, which puts our monetary policy, outside of the control of government, which is interesting. So yeah, man, I'm very happy to be able to talk to you tonight. Uh, I want to read for you a passage, you see, from the book. I don't know if you have ever seen this book. It's called the Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Now, Marcus Garvey is one of my favorite, if not my favorite Jamaican. He is a national hero like no other. In fact, Marcus Garvey should be an international hero because of his tremendous contribution that he has made to mankind, and particularly to the African race. Well, Marcus Garvey in this book points out a number of things like a prophet in terms of what could or would happen to the black race. Because Marcus Garvey understood not only history, but he was able to forecast into the future what would happen if we as a people do not take control of our self governance, and if we don't stop depending on others to organize and manage our lives for us. So it's quite unfortunate that we have not listened to Marcus Garvey, and we're suffering the consequences for that. Let me read this passage for you, and just listen carefully. It's a very important piece of passage. He says, "Can we not realize that we of the Negro race have slept for hundreds of years, allowing during that period of time the great Caucasian race and other great races to develop their own countries, their own homes and habitats until they have reached the point of exhaustion. They have practically extracted from their own countries all the wealth those countries could produce, while we have remained dormant for 300 years, ignoring the possibilities of our own country, ignoring the wealth of our own country. Now, these other people are leaving their own countries, overexploited and overdeveloped, and going into Africa to develop and rob its vast resources. What does that mean? It means that in another 50 or 100 years, if European and American capital develops and exploits Africa, it will become like Europe and the United States of America, the future home of the white man, wherein, with a small amount of investment, with a small amount of capital, they will have so exploited the country as to cause it to produce an abundance of wealth and make Africa the wealthiest country and continent in the world, with probably the greatest civilizations that the world will see in another 100 or 200 years, which will be a civilization owned and controlled by white men, where Negroes in that period of time will fall back into the natural life of that country, just as we are in the United States of America at the present time, as a secondary part of civilization, when we will have to beg for jobs and beg for a chance, as we are now doing in the United States of America. Because when the white man invests his money for the development of Africa, it means that he is going to employ labor in doing this. And the same Negroes who say they have lost nothing in Africa, when men like John D. Rockefeller are ready to develop the oil resources there, they will carry them by the thousands to Africa. They will go as quickly as they went from the West Indian islands to dig in the Panama Canal. And West Indian Negroes know well the treatment they received at the hands of white Americans after the Panama Canal was completed. When men like Geary are ready to develop the coal and iron mines, they will carry Negroes by the thousands to Africa, and they will go as readily as they go to Pennsylvania to work in the mines. Yet we say we have lost nothing in Africa, while Africa offers to us the possibility, its untold opportunities. Why should we not go there and take an interest in its development? Not for white men, but for Negroes. The white man is now doing it, not with the intention of building for other races, but with the intention of building for himself, for the white race. So there you have it. Marcus Garvey predicted how we would have allowed the white man to completely dominate not just the world, but Africa. Now, I have nothing against white men. In fact, I have many friends and associates who are white. I have worked very well with many races over the years, Indians, Chinese. I have nothing against any particular race. Where I have a problem is where my race fails to properly run the race, where we fail to understand the world we live in, and we think it's a game, a softball game, an easy game. And so we allow others to dictate our constitution, our politics, our economics, our education, our healthcare, um, yeah, even our social and cultural lives and attitude. We allow others to dictate it. My friends, it's time for us to take charge. It's time for us to take control of our lives. It's time for us to stop allowing others to dictate what we do, how we do it, when we do it, and why we do it. Our government, as you can see, has clearly lost all credibility when it comes on to them deciding and acting on the best interest of the Jamaican people. They're simply doing whatever they're told by their foreign masters. Our constitution was written by our foreign masters. Our economic policies are written by our foreign masters. Our school curriculum are written by our foreign masters. My God, our entire life is scripted by our foreign masters. And even now, they're preparing and working hard as hell to inject us with the substance of their foreign masters. This is very serious. But welcome again, and let's now introduce my guest for tonight, Mr. Ricardo White. Mr. Ricardo, are you there? Ricardo, can you hear me? Okay, so I'm not hearing Ricardo at all. Let me see, do I have the wrong one? Hi, Ricardo, can you hear me? All right, I'm not too sure what happened to Ricardo there, but I hope he'll be able to join us soon because he's going to be my guest for tonight. Let me check. Let me check
How
here.
about
Oh,
now? You hear me?
all right. There you go. There you go. Well, go
Technology,
on.
bro.
Well, well, go on, my brother.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Blessings. Good to see that you're in good spirit, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
man. But there,
Definitely. True,
yeah,
true.
I'm here trying to educate myself and my people to understand that we're in a race, the human
Mm-hmm.
race. And for some time now, we have allowed other people in the race to be running that race ahead of us.
Yeah.
They even had a chance to enslave us for 400 years, and
Right.
after that, they're still finding ways to trick us still. But I want to welcome you tonight, and first of all, allow our guests to know who you are and why you're here, and a little about you. I can say this right off the bat: you have written a tremendous song
Okay.
that the UIC is has been using for some time now. Every time we start a show, everybody hear "Real Man a Road," and they have no idea. They have no idea who it is, that wrote this song, produced this song, sing this song, and we have done a lousy job of giving you credit for the exceptional artistic work that you have done. So, Ricardo, before I play the song, just tell people who you are for me.
Yeah. My name is Ricardo White. I go by Don Yhavui. Yhavui means you have a voice, use it. And it's kind of a social conditioning, a new social contract of sorts to say whatever you do to express yourself, um, sure that you find some voice in it to voice your opinions on current events and the things that are going on around us because that's important. Um, I work as a social media marketing specialist, so yeah, I work in communications, and I'm currently working with a nonprofit called the National Black Workers Center, which has different worker centers all across America, and we are working to end racism, discrimination in the workplace of America as far as it pertains to black people. So yeah, I grew up in Portland. Um, Went to Port Antonio High School. I wasn't good at school. It's just one of those things where I was destined to find my way outside of school because I figured I was making way more money outside of school than being inside of school. And so, I've it's crazy to say that I never made it to the 11th or 12th grade, and I'm glad I'm not born in today's days where I'd probably make it to 13th or 14th grade, depending on what's going on in Jamaica right now. But yeah, I grew up, you know, like any other Jamaican kid, taking time to go to river when I should be at school, um, picking people breadfruit to go sell to make money, and then split the profits with them. It's just like, a normal Jamaican country youth. You grew up, you know, dreaming to go beyond the trees and the sea and the river. Only now I wish I was back in them trees and rivers. But it's the cycle of life. But for the most part, my dreams and ambition has always been, how can I uplift the people around me? Um, I can't even count on one hand the amount of youths that I've put through uh, rigorous programs that I've designed to teach them to voice themselves, learn the basics of music and stuff like that, so they can have that competitive. And even now, a lot of people that you might see at Six or some other camp, people that have actually spent weeks or weekends at my house developing this craft late 1, 2, 3 o'clock at night, pot on the fire, and it endless amounts of work. I migrated to the US around 7 to 8 years ago, or 10 years, pretty much going and counting. Um, Working on a number of different industries, and quickly started to realize the amount of resources we have in Jamaica that is just like totally unused. And I'll give you an example. When you take og plum, for instance, a bag of og plum in America right now is about 15 or to 20. So just cook down in some sugar and some red color food coloring, it's gonna run you a good $10 or so. So it's unfortunate when you get to really travel and see, oh hell, my country was better than this country. We just don't have a great economy. So that's pretty much about me. I've been here. I got into different jobs, and ultimately found my place in marketing, which I was doing back home. Pretty much everybody in Portland should know me by now. I did most of the flyers. Sorry for the competition. Couldn't get flyers while I was there, but I compete against people in other countries that I admire, and ultimately was able to keep that edge. And now I've fully pursued a career in communications.
So basically, you were a high school dropout.
Yes.
Yeah. And while you were a high school dropout, you were really in college learning how to make money as an entrepreneur on the street.
Right. So a lot of great examples too.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
up Gaggy at the bus stop in Buff Bay. Always intrigued me how guys with no actual education could figure out,
Mhm.
well, if I take my candy to the bus stop, and that's where everybody is kind of like trying to get on bus.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Do, do,
definitely.
do you know that throughout history, the richest people, the most successful people at entrepreneurship are those who weren't properly educated?
I'm starting to come to terms with that. I'm definitely
You
starting to
know,
come to terms with that.
education, the way we have been introduced to it, is actually sabotaging for the most part. It does prepare you to be an employee. It does focus
Hmm.
your attention on how to be a good employee, somebody who follows instructions, follow rules, learn to be subservient. And nothing's wrong with being an employee. And I'm just saying
Right.
the
Right.
system is designed primarily for you to have the employee mindset, and not to be as creative and as productive as it can be generally. So you find people, and I understand what you've gone through, because when I was about, let me see, around 8 9, I used to sell at a bus stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm selling sweetie and bubble gum and cigarette, and as a
Right.
little kid, 9 year old. And I used to do what you did too. I used to sell breadfruit, pick breadfruit for people because the tree so high, and they
Right.
can't get
Right.
up there. So I pick some and do the trade. I'll give you some and I take some to go sell. So I am fully aware and fully understand all of that. So now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your encounter with the UIC. But before I ask you anything else, I want to play the song that you wrote for the UIC, entitled Real Man a Road. I want people to hear the song. I don't have a video to go with it, but they're going to listen to it while we're on screen. So let's take a listen and hear Real Man a Road. Let's see if we can do this. 1 second here. All right, here we go. Real Manor Road. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing going.
UIC. Freedom of people of hell yeah. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people.
I'm not hearing it on my side.
Do not UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now go walk in no tree on a
You
road.
hearing it?
Now
You
go
hearing it?
down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. Then when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. IUIC around the road, long time GLP and PMPSL we out. Till I do the test, even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them, catch we and hang we know. No force, no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one for rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when sleep with. Yeah, real man a road. Now go walk in no tree on a road. Now go down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say real man a road. Now go walk in no tree.
Wheel and come again.
We
UIC.
look come again.
Hell yeah. Freedom of people of me. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of me. Freedom of
Baby, I'm
people
on a
of me.
call. I can't talk right now. Okay.
Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people of need.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Real
Real
man a
Manor
road.
Road.
Now go walk in a
Real
tree on a
Manor
road.
Road.
Now go down to no demon a road.
UIC
UIC when
for the
you
Real
see man
Manor
a road,
Road.
me say
Yeah.
real man a road. Now go walk in no tree on a road. Now go down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. Then when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. IUIC around the road, long time GLP and PMPSL we out. Till I do the test, even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them, catch we and hang we know. No force, no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one for rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out.
Yo,
You know
you
see
know
the
see the
leeches, you know
you
see
know
the
see
hands
the
of the
ant of
devil
the
when
devil when
sleep with.
sleep with.
You know
You
see
know
the
see the
leeches,
leeches. You know see the
hands of the
ant of the
devil when
devil when
sleep with.
sleep with.
Yeah, yeah. Real man
Real
a
man a
road.
road.
Now go
Go
walk in a
walk in
tree
a
on
tree
a
on a
road.
road.
Now go
I
down
bow
to
down
no
to
demon
no.
a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a
Real
road.
man a road.
Now go walk in a tree on a road. Now go down to
bow
no
down to
demon
no
a
demon
road.
a road.
You I see
You
when
I
you
see
see
when
man
you
a
see man
road.
a road.
Yeah, me drop the graphing now, and then I
And I'm
laughing now.
laughing now. What them talking about?
Everything cement and we not talking growth. Jamaican intellectuals are marching now. Them couldn't get the last laugh, no them laughing loud. We don't need the small talk when we talking, bro. We don't need them 5 grand, we need to part them now. Time GLP and PMP, I sell we out. Till I do the test, even though we know the end result. But if them could have kill with them, catch we and hang we know. The force not gonna hurt and me freedom in a step. Them want to rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when sleep with. Yeah. Real man
Real
a
man
road,
a road.
now go
Oh,
walk in a
oh,
tree in a
tree on a
road.
road.
Now go
Now
down
bow
to
down
the
to no
deep on a
demon a
road.
road.
You I
You
see
I
when you
see
see
when you
man a
see man
road.
a
Me
road.
say yeah. Real man a road, now go walk in a tree on a road. Now go down
Yeah,
to
but
no
Mr.
deep on
Patterson
a
a big
road.
selector
You
right
I
now.
see when you see man a road. Yeah. Real man a road. Now go walk in a tree on a road. Now go down to no demon a road. You
You
I
I
see
see.
when you see man a road. Me say yeah.
Yeah.
Real man a road. Now go walk in no tree on a road. Now go down to no demon a road. You I see when you see man a road. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Freedom the people. Freedom the
Freedom,
people.
freedom, freedom.
The people need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people want. Freedom the people them need. Yeah, yeah. Respect.
Bless up, bless up. every time.
Oh my God. Bill up, big up, big up. This is the song of the century. You know, there are two songs I love right now, you know. This song and a song called Jamaica Cry. So I
Yeah,
play these songs over and over again. I'm amazed because nobody asked you to do this. Nobody, paid you to do this. Nobody even know you were working on this.
right.
And one day I just wake up and hear this thing, you know. Devon sent me I think it's Devon or somebody sent me a clip. And I said, what is? And I open it up and I listen to it. And next thing I know, it's you. So tell us, please, what is it that inspired you to write this song and to produce this song and to sing this song?
Yeah. So I think I've always been deeply invested in what Jamaica will be. I just never know when the opportunity would present itself for it to become something because I know under the current system it wasn't possible. And with reluctance migrating abroad, um, trying to see what's out there. Do I'm not regretting because definitely learn and equip myself with skills that I think will prove useful in the future. But as far as the song itself, my view in studying history and kind of analyzing certain things about how you conduct yourself in times of war. Um, it is creatives who have that particular responsibility of balancing energies, especially when the eviler people own mediums by which we communicate. And so I think that responsibility falls on creatives to say, all right, we must keep the spirits of the people alive. We must create poems and poetry and songs that rise up the vibration and awaken our ancestors' strength and spirit within the people so that they can do what is necessary to claim their freedom. So that was definitely feeling a sense of responsibility in a time of seeing, okay, whoa, this is this whole party out here called UIC, brother. I call my mother, I call my sister, what? You know what I mean? There was that type of vibe. I was really lit. And so,
Wow. So,
you
so
know,
how did you find out about the UIC? How did you come to know about us?
my mom, Annalisa, she in the audience, big up every time. You know,
Big up analyst here. Yeah.
she's a true patriot. She is the embodiment of Jamaica. She's walking Jamaica, So, I mean, I think the she has prepared us over the years to be like, with the mindset of there's some time in life when you are gonna become an asset to the change of the world. So
Hmm.
I think we always kind of kept that in the back of my mind. All of my siblings are on board, and uh,
Wow.
now trying to see how we can play different roles in order to move the mission forward.
Excellent, excellent. I really appreciate that. No, I, every live I've been on, I've seen your mom on the live. I mean,
Yeah,
every live. I can't recall a live where I don't see her as one of the first names that pop up.
yeah,
Um,
it's
and
about it.
I remember one day you guys gave me a call. I didn't even know who it was, and then you introduced yourself. I'm like, wow, So I'm really impressed. You guys are true patriots. You're very committed to the cause, to creating a real new Jamaica. Now, what is it that you like most about the UIC? Let's talk maybe policies now. What is it that you have seen? Some of the things that attracted you to the UIC?
Yeah. So I think it, so coming up in as a communication specialist, I started off like really just working as a social media manager, and then the trajectory of seeing like where did I want to go in the future. So learn a lot more, and took courses and whatever to educate myself in that way. But I think one of the best things that I ever learned was about systems thinking. And I'll break that down to say it's thinking about how humans think, how the world around us work, and kind of when you identify issues, zooming out from the issue and looking at
Hmm.
what are the contributing factors here that might be unknown or known, depending on what type of issue you're dealing with. And
Right.
so, I think for me, I'm used to hearing politicians talk, and it's like, yeah, you talk a good game, you talk a good game, but I can't see the system behind your plan. And so
Hmm.
for me, it was really refreshing to be able to look at this plan and say, okay, what are the components of this plan? How is it going to work? It sounds nice on the surface, but I really wanted to dig into it. And I tell you, Mr. Patterson, I must commend you because you give me some homework. And I went and I dig up and I dig and I dig, I dig. I went all the way back to 1685 when America
Hmm.
was an actual free market economy. And,
Hmm.
business were popping up like wildfire all over the place.
Exactly.
I think they wanted to nip that in the bud, as I say. So that was changed rather quickly. But for me, I think being able to hear a plan, identify the working parts of that plan, what are the different gears of this plan, and seeing how all the different gears work together to achieve the mission, you can visualize what the future looks. So
Yeah.
being able to visualize what the future looks like when you hear a good plan or a good manifesto, I think that's
Hmm.
what really sold me because I don't buy things for the cover of the book. If you feel.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow. I'm listening to you, Ricardo, and I don't want to swell your head in, but you sound brighter than most of our politicians.
Uh,
And let me tell you what I mean by that. It's not that they can't speak good enough because they have some PhDs. Jamaica has had a number of PhDs in charge of our economy.
right.
And you have just explained in a very short period of time the fundamentals of what it is that creates a great economy. Something that has eluded these fellows. And I don't think it has eluded them so much as they have just decided not to see it because they have found a way that work for them. Because you can have two kind of systems. One system which works for everybody, treats everybody equally, and you have to put out the effort, you have to market yourself properly, produce properly, and so on. You have another system now that can give you an unfair advantage because
Mhm.
it's skewed, it's designed to undermine other people and give you a special leg up. And our politicians have chosen that path, the path that gives them and those closest to them a special leg up. And to do that, they have to undermine the economy of the other 95% of the
Mhm.
Jamaican people while lying to them that they're working for the benefit of the poor. When a politician tells you he's here to help the poor, you must be very careful and analyze carefully what I must say, because it might mean the opposite, like the Americans are finding out right now. You know,
Exactly.
so you have to be very, very careful. So I really respect what you said a while ago, and I see a depth of intelligence which the audience are picking up because they're talking about it, saying you're a very intelligent young man. There's a depth of
Appreciate it, guys.
intelligence, yeah, that comes from you having a bit of street knowledge and then taking the time to self educate. And there's nothing like a person who doesn't rely on their academic education as the foundation of all knowledge and wisdom. Because school, believe it or not, school was designed for organized ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
It was designed to make sure that some things you don't know. So, for example, schools make sure you don't understand economics. Anything that you should understand, they make it overly complicated. So,
Right.
so the economics is made very complicated. Math is made very complicated because if our people understood math and understood economics, no politician couldn't fool them.
Right. I think
You
so too.
understand? No politician couldn't fool them. But because they make sure, you ask anybody, every Jamaican that finished high school, if you have 100 of them, there's only one who probably understand fake economics. Not even good economics, fake
Right, right,
economics.
right.
One out of the 100 understands fake economics, not true economics. And you're lucky if you find one in a million that understands the monetary system and how it works. And you're lucky if you find one in a thousand who understands history and sees the connectivity between history and his life today. Many Jamaicans don't understand what really happened in 1838 when they freed the slaves. What really happened in 1944 when they gave us the right to vote? What really happened in 1962 when they claimed we were independent? How does this affect us to this very day? Right now, today, 95% of Jamaicans are actually either poor or financially insecure. 95% after after 59 years of so-called independence and 77 years of being able to vote, and they don't understand why, and the UIC wants to make sure they understand why. But let's continue. Is there anything at all, now that you have been around watching the UIC for a while, anything you want to ask me, now that you have me live and direct on the screen? Put me on the spot, and let's just tell everybody this. This is not rehearsed. You and I have had
Right.
no rehearsals. We just came on tonight. I spoke to you about 5 or 10 minutes before the show.
Yeah, it was
And
kind of
yeah,
last minute too, and I thought I
yeah,
had to go pick up my daughter. I had to check in on all that to make sure I could come on.
yeah. There you
But
go. So thank you so much for coming. So tell me, anything you want to talk to me about? Like, you want to kind of look at a particular policy or
yeah,
whatever, feel free. Raise it.
yeah. So for one, you asked me what attracted me to the UIC, and I want to kind of go over another point that I think is important to mention. Um, when it comes to the idea of what crime, what your the crime plan, what the crime plan is, I
Yes.
think to me that's the crime plan. It allowed me to visualize what can happen in Jamaica in a totally different way. And
Yes.
I don't think anybody that hasn't heard the UIC's crime plan believe it can be dealt with in any other way than how it's been gone about right now. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it shows the level of intelligence that went into like crafting this plan, making sure that it was equitable even for the people who are doing these offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to preface that by saying that anybody who advocates for taking another human being's life without cause or without reason of defending oneself, um, you know, people do many heinous crimes in this world. We have also seen where people have got convicted for like 70 or 20 years or something, and they spend most of their life behind bars, and then they are exonerated because somebody finally spoke up or told the truth and said it wasn't that
Mm-hmm.
person. So I don't think anybody should be thinking we should take any drastic measures beyond punishing somebody or trying to rehabilitate them into society in any way, shape, or form. But I think it opened up my mind to say, okay, well, it's not one way to Yeah, I probably would say.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that people, and the prime minister just did it recently, when they're trying to deal with something that's very difficult, that has been made very convoluted, they look for simple, simplistic answers, like to just say the death penalty. Let's just kill people who have done something horrible. And I believe in really punishing people who have done anything that is wrong, especially
Right.
something as severe as killing another human being. But we have to also understand that we have a very corrupt system. And you might be dead sure that this is the person who has committed the
Right.
crime.
Right.
All the facts, the facts seem to point to this person. And then you say, let's have the death penalty. And then you find out that it wasn't right. Somebody planted evidence, somebody lied.
Right.
It was a mistaken identity. It was somebody at the wrong place at the wrong time. So when you take a life, you can't reverse that. So I'd rather give somebody a life sentence than to execute them, only to
Exactly.
find out that the sentencing was incorrect. But when it comes on to crime in Jamaica, now what we have done over the years, we have continued to focus at the bottom, the people who we see looking ugly, the people who broke
Right.
into the place, the people who the policeman catch an piece of tear up pants and shoot him, and so on. We focus at the bottom when the biggest part of our crime problem stems from the top.
Exactly.
uh, it's the top who corrupts the police force. You have the way they promote police officers. Those who are the most honest people, those who are the most diligent police officers, those who believe in respecting and serving and protecting the people, they stand the least chance of being promoted.
Yeah. Penalized for being good, and that's the whole
Yes.
system. That's the whole system here.
Yeah.
In I could tell you. Uh, I could tell you specifically one thing that stands out to me is the corruption for getting visa and stuff like that. To
Yeah.
me, that is one of the biggest corruptions in Jamaica, as far as like when it comes to the private sector, right? And the dealing
Hmm.
how the government treats them. But it always fascinated me how somebody who would go and say, I make such and such money, and they wouldn't get through. And some
Yes.
and I know people, I'm not going to call it a name, but I'm just saying that I've known of people who went and they made up some things
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
got it and go through. So you realize that the system doesn't reward you for being an honest person.
No, no. It
It's
rewards corruption.
yeah.
It rewards dishonesty. And that's some of the things that the UIC wants to change by changing the system. And a lot of it, has to do with the checks and balances in the system. If you have, take for example, the issue of issuing so-called fitness for a vehicle. So in Jamaica, you have to go get your fitness renewed,
Mm,
right, for your vehicle. The way it is designed, it feeds corruption. So most
right.
of the people on the road are actually unfit to be on the road, but they've all been passed.
Yeah.
But they're
Right.
unfit. Now, if you wanted to design a good system, I'm going to give the government a free one here. This is a free, I'm going to give them a free solution. Uh, Instead of you having all these depots where you hire people and tell them that they're going to have the power to decide if your vehicle is fit or not, you simply farm this out to all of the licensed, registered, qualified, competent uh, auto repair shops around the country.
Mm-hmm.
They each have to issue a certification that this vehicle is fit based on standards that exist. And if the police then stops the vehicle on the road and it is proven that the vehicle is unfit, then they look at who was the shop that
Right. Right.
certified this. Game over.
Yeah.
It's done. You have eliminated all of the corruption right away, and you have now shifted a huge amount of public resources away from being wasted and being spent unnecessarily back into the productive sector, which would create jobs and expand the economy. I just gave them, without hiring me as a consultant,
Right. Right. Right.
for $50 million. I have just
Give a
I have
little
just
bit of
solved
game.
a major problem. I've just solved a major problem for them. They haven't hired me. I have no contract. I don't get $50 million.
$1 million game.
Um,
$1 million game.
I've just solved the problem. Now back to the crime issue. as I was saying, it's from the top down. So I explained earlier on. One is how we promote police officers up the rank and give them positions. Then the link between the police now and the politician, like the senior officers in the police now and the politician, that link has broken. You have to create a
Right.
firewall between them so that they can't cover for each other. And if you build the checks and balances now so that if they try, then it gets out into the open very quickly because of how the system is designed. A
Okay.
person lose them job and so on. Then what you'll have now, the guns that are coming in, which are being covered by senior people in the police and senior people at the wharfs and senior people in the government, if you break up that connection, then the guns stop getting in so easily. If you shift our ports to the army and separate that now from the civilian
Right.
side, and then separate the politicians so that they have a vested interest now to catch criminals. You cut off the supply of guns, you cut off the supply of ammunition, so now you have less guns and ammunition that are illegal in the country. You also now eliminate your senior officers from being able to cover for criminals. So down the line now is messed up, right? Because the communication
Right.
between
Right.
the criminals that is disconnected. So if we focus on the top and we send some really important persons to jail, we cause them to lose their businesses, to lose their finances, to get into a lot of trouble, then the people say, oh, this government is serious, and they
Right.
step back. That's what Singapore did. The prime minister of Singapore allowed the system to punish his best friend who engaged in a shady form. It wasn't even fully corruption, It was just
Right.
a shady situation. And he never got in the way. He allowed the legal system to take its course. And when the people saw how those at top are treated for corruption, then that trickles down, right?
Right.
What
Right.
the people now say, well, we shouldn't get involved in corruption. So in
Right.
Singapore now, they have a culture of anti-corruption. They have a culture of effective policing. They have a culture of a clean environment. They have a culture of public order, and they have a culture of high economic achievement, which then pushes up the employment of Singaporeans and pushes up the earnings of Singaporeans and give them a much richer country. There's no reason why Jamaica can't replicate these things. The
Yeah.
only reason why we're not doing it is because our politicians over the years, the two parties, they have realized that they can live a sumptuous life if they keep the rest of Jamaica living a menial life. They don't want to have to apply themselves to a true free market economy and have to compete in a real economy where it's based on their competencies and abilities. They prefer to have an unfair advantage of using the power of government to extract the wealth of the people, the same way as a slave master would use his unfair advantage and power over slaves to extract the wealth of their labor while keeping them in bondage. So our politicians have kept and maintained the master slave economy, and it's working. It's working for them, but it's
Yeah.
destroying Jamaican people.
Yeah. I don't think they have any interest in changing anything anytime soon.
No,
I think
no.
what we have in our view is people who have gotten accustomed to the lifestyle that they live, and it's a lot of work to even get up in the morning to the people's work because they're so comfortable. I sleep on the floor every now and then, just remind myself where I'm coming from. You know, but
Wow.
but
I should try that sometime.
oh yeah,
But yeah, but I mean, for me, I, I mean, I've worked hard and been able to produce a lot for myself and my family, and I'm very fortunate that I actually left Jamaica when I did. I mean, I was doing very well here now before I left, but I'm very happy that I left, and it's not theoretical now when I talk about you can make a better country. I've seen
right.
it done. So I have tasted it, I've experienced it. I've had the pleasure of, I went to China, and my gosh, if we want to talk about a safe environment, go to Beijing. The man them have CCTV camera on every street corner in the country. And they have three sets of police. You have those that are kind of like unarmed volunteers, and they're
Right.
stationed around there just to give you directions. Then they have those now who are paying closer attention now to crime fighting, and then you have those now who have a military like presence.
Right.
So for them, it's a super safe. Just in Beijing, I mean, if you go to other areas, you'll find it's not so safe. But in their capital area, it's pretty. But I've seen so many different. I've been to Myanmar, seen their situation, to Ghana, seen their situation. So I've seen the world, and what I know is that if we Jamaicans just decide to apply ourselves, allow
Yeah.
ourselves to win, allow ourselves to win, right? And we have the system. I mean, the UIC has designed the perfect system to achieve this. When I say perfect, I don't mean we won't have any problems, but we can cut
Yeah.
down on many of the issues, that we
Can you
have.
can you
Yeah,
explain? So for me, I would want you to put the flow chart up because I think a lot of people here are
sure, sure.
visual learners,
Yes, yes.
and
Let me
and
see if I can do that. I think I have it here. Let me see if I can get the flow chart up. 1 second. The
all right.
flow chart. Let's see if here we go. Share. Can you see that?
Um,
So this is the one you want to see, right?
I,
This one
I'm
here. You see it?
no, I'm not seeing it yet.
You're not seeing it. Okay,
No.
I'm seeing it, but let me see what's showing on your end. Okay, hold. Oh, I see why. I didn't turn it on. Here we go. Can you see it now?
Ah, there we go.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
So explain what's gonna happen. What's the difference? What's happening different from what we have now? And I think I
Right.
should preface this by saying like what a simple system is. So a simple system has an input, it has a function, and it has an output. And
Mhm.
so for every input, there should be an equal output. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, for every set of inputs, you should have an output, which may not be equal. It may actually be a multiplier effect. So, for
Yeah.
example, if you in chemistry, you might mix two chemicals and you get a new compound altogether that may be superior to the previous two elements. But your principle is correct. You have the input, you have the process, and then you have the output. So in Jamaica's system, you have the input right now, which is the people inputting their time and energy and effort. You have the politicians who are making decisions on behalf of the people after they have gone through an electoral process. And then you have the output. What is the output? In the current system, the output is more crime, more poverty, and what is it now? So crime, poverty, and I'm missing one. I draw a blank right now. So, but
Yeah.
crime and poverty are two of the key outputs of the current system, and the longer we keep them there, the more poverty you have, and the more crime that you're seeing. Yes.
Awesome. So my question for you is around the republic. So I know we've been talking a lot about this recently. Barbados just recently announced that they're now a republic, and it had a ceremonial event to enact that. My thing is, I don't think a lot of people understand that there are multiple versions of a republic. You
Yes.
can have a
A
parliamentary
democratic
republic,
republic,
a
a
democratic
parliamentary republic, and
Islamic
all of that.
republic,
Yeah,
a
yes.
bunch.
The Chinese Republic, which is a communist dictatorship, totalitarian republic. But Ricardo, um, a republic, a republic has while it can have different meanings, the essence of a republic is where the people is in charge. That's the essence of a republic, where the people is in charge. Now, in a political system, you have two extremes. So one extreme is where you have no government, so that's anarchy. There's no
Hmm.
government, and the other extreme is where you have total government, called totalitarianism, which is the people have no say, and a group of people is in
Marxism.
charge, and
Yeah.
they decide everything. They decide what you eat, what you drink, what you wear, where you work, what work you do, and so on and so forth. So that's an extreme, right? We might know that as communism, and then you have, but let's call it totalitarianism versus anarchy. Somewhere in the middle, what you have now is a clear understanding of the role of government versus the role of the individual. So why do you need government in the first place? The purpose of government in a free society is to protect the sovereignty of the individual, because each of us, you are sovereign and I am sovereign. You have the right. You own you. You're the property owner of you. So you
Mhm.
own everything about you. You own your time. You own your life. You own your body, and you own the products of your labor, your effort, what you have produced. And you might trade that for money. So if you trade your time and energy for money, then the money you get is yours. If you don't get money, let's say you go into the woods and you carve out a tree and you make a table or a chair, that's your property because you have converted nature with your skill and energy. Now, once you understand the concept that you own you, that you're the owner of who you are, then you can better understand the role of government. Why do you want a government? The government now is a third party that's going to mediate between you and me. So the government is going to make sure that you can't use force or fraud to take my life or to take away my freedom or to steal my property. And the government also say to me as the mediator, you can't go and take away Ricardo's life or his freedom or his property. So the government is there to protect my rights to my life, to my liberty, and to my property, and to protect your rights. If the government does its job well, you and I now live in peace because we have to trade on equal terms, meaning you say, hey, Mr. Patterson, I have some Aki, you want to buy it? You
Mm.
can't force me to buy the Aki. You just ask me. And if I want the Aki, I can say, yeah, man. And we agree on a price. The government doesn't decide the price for us. Me and you agree on that price because you and I have decided that we want to make this trade and we do it. If, on the other hand, now you come and say, Mr. Patterson, may I have some Aki, and I think you should take it, and you pull out a gun or a knife and say, take it, take my Aki, then now we have a problem because you're going to now force me to take your Aki. Or you might say to me that you have a drink you want to sell, and I must take the drink and give you my money, and you're going to force me to do that. Any form of initiated force or fraud. Maybe you trick me and you tell me that it's a pound of ackee, but when I separate it, I find that there's some apple on the bottom and you just spread some ackee on the top. So you trick me. That's fraud. So the role of government is to prosecute those who engage in the use of force or fraud to get their way. On top of that, now you and I might have a genuine disagreement. We sign a contract, and the contract says every second week you're going to come and mow my lawn, and I'm going to give you $1,000 for doing so. And one of the second week you didn't show up on time or on the day, but you still wanted the $1,000. So we now have to go to court. So the government provides a judicial system of resolution, dispute resolution, and so now we go through the process. If that system didn't exist, maybe you and I fight it out.
Right, right.
We
With the
pull
end bad
fists.
way.
Yeah, must stab you and you thump me and all kind of stuff. So we have a justice system as a result of government, and we have a police system as a result of government. But we also have to worry about invaders, people coming from outside. So they're not among us. It's not me and
Mm.
you now. It's a third party coming from outside now to hurt us. So now we have an army to patrol our borders and to prepare for and to be able to lead us in the case of an invasion and to fight against the enemies coming in. So that is the fundamental purpose of government. If we lose those fundamentals, many problems happen after that. Go ahead.
No, so here's my follow-up question to that.
Yes.
I noticed on this chart, and this is different from most of the charts that I've examined. I probably this is the first time seeing this chart after looking at many. And
Yes.
so it's interesting what's at the top of this chart, and I want you to explain to me and the people listening why is the UIC's constitution, which is not a person, in an organizational chart at the top of the chart, especially where our monarch is supposed to be. Uh,
Yes.
we-
Yeah, so let me see if I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try to first show you the existing structure. Can you see
okay,
it?
okay, yep.
So here's the existing structure that Jamaica is under right now. So at the top of the current governance model of Jamaica is the Queen of England and her colonial constitution, the constitution that her people gave to our people, and our people accept it and implement it and tell us that we have a constitution. So that's, and then the Queen of England now is the real sovereign. So everything that we do in the country, it's based on her being the sovereign lord over us. The people get to exercise their votes, right? So the people vote, and they're brought into what is called a partisan system of governance. So they vote based
Forgive me,
on,
Janet. Sorry,
yeah,
forgive me, Janet.
yes. Sorry.
No, I was telling Janet to forgive me. Janet Graham. She says
Oh,
it's
what
not
did she
our
say?
monarch, and she's perfectly right.
Right, correct. Yeah, yeah. Not our monarch. That's correct. So so they now allow us to vote, and how they allow us to vote is very important. They first made sure that we divided into two tribes. So we're fighting each other now. We're no longer fighting for something. We're fighting each other.
Mhm.
So that's very important. Then they also made sure that the campaigning process is funded privately, which means those with the most money gets to influence the outcome primarily. That those are very important little things that we have, learned not to realize, not to truly fully understand the implications, because that means those with the money decides who is really likely to win. They control the nomination process. Then after that, now when we have the election, you follow this arrow here. We elect 63 MPs, member of parliament. Of that 63, the prime minister gets to appoint 13 of the senators. So he automatically has power over 13 senators. So he
Mm.
controls the majority of the Senate. The same prime minister also appoints the executive branch of the government. So he decides who will be a minister and therefore in the cabinet. Those ministers are drawn from the 63 MPs and the 21 senators. So that means that the majority of the MPs and the majority of the senators are beholden to the prime minister. So that makes the prime minister a very powerful person. The leader of the opposition now appoints the other 8 senators. Because of how powerful the executive branch of the government is, having control of the Senate and having control of the House, you don't have separation of powers. So
Powers,
you
yeah.
now have you now have a form of dictatorship, which is covered by a veneer of democracy, but it's not really democratic. It's a veneer,
Yeah.
and that dictatorship is enforced for 5 years because you've given them almost unfettered powers with a few little monitoring, but unfettered powers. The prime minister now and that body controls the Senate, which becomes a rubber stamp for him or her, and controls the majority in the House, which then controls almost everything else because they're controlling the economy through this branch. They're controlling the education system, they're controlling the healthcare system, and hidden behind you and me on the screen, they're controlling, to a lesser extent, but structurally still, the judicial part of the governance as well. Now, let's look at how this changes under the UIC system of governance. So I'll switch now down to the UIC system. You'll notice we've gotten rid of the Queen. And now it's the Constitution, the rule of law, which rules us. Now, that rule of law is important. What is that rule of law? It's now a set of laws that are encoded from the very beginning to limit the government and protect the people from their government. Yeah, go
Do
ahead.
we have an opportunity to when, and I'm saying when the UIC
Yes.
becomes the government, does the people have an opportunity to look over the constitution and then decide, well, these are things we want to add in? Because, for instance, I don't know how many people on the live, but I know some people are familiar with like natural law, for instance.
Yes.
I quite believe in those myself. And so I think from what I see from the UIC's constitution, a lot has been developed from natural law. So
Absolutely.
so how extensive is it, and um, what are the possibilities for amendment, and how will we protect it from being amended in a wrong way? So it's probably a three part. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I should have mentioned earlier that you see in the top left and right hand corner, it tells you that the judicial system at the bottom, just behind my picture, ensures that the constitutionality of all laws and rules fit within the Constitution. And to change the Constitution, you need a two-thirds vote in both the House and the Senate and a referendum. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll need those in the Senate, the House, and the people of Jamaica to vote to change it. Now, yes, the constitution that the UIC is drafting will be a constitution that is by the people and of the people, but it's based on the republic model, which means that the people's individual sovereignty based on natural law will be protected. And I can summarize that for you. We call it the law of liberty. And what it says is this: you have a right to do whatever you want with your life, with your liberty, and with your property, provided you don't use force or fraud to infringe on the life, liberty, or property of others. So it gives you full jurisdiction over you, so long as you don't use force or fraud to interfere with the jurisdiction of the other person, in terms of their life and liberty and property. And that's the fundamental premise. The rest now is codified in such a way to make sure that you can, actually deal with this in a court of law and so on and so forth. So at the very top of the new Jamaica is a constitution that protects you from the government and everybody else. The people are sovereign, but now we don't have this sovereignty exercised in what we call a plain democracy. Rather, it is a non-partisan system, which is now publicly funded, which allows the people to directly engage in the elections of those who represent them without being influenced or hijacked by those who have more money than others. So now we bring the playing field down, equalize the playing field, so the poorest of person can stand for office and have as much chance of being elected as the richest of persons, because neither of them will have an advantage in this process. And I'll explain that another day how that works. But the
Yeah.
fundamental part of it is that it is a 100% publicly funded system. You will now directly elect your president. As you know, in the current system, you don't elect the prime minister. The prime minister is the leader of the party that with the most seat. We don't like that. We want the people to elect who they want to be the head of their government and the head of state. One person, and that's nationally elected. We want to have three vice presidents, one for each county, and we want to have our 63 representatives being persons who live within the constituencies that they represent. And we want to have not 21 rubber stamp senators appointed by
Right.
but rather 14 senators, one per parish. So the people of each parish will elect a person to sit in the house to represent the interest of their parish. Now, what is beautiful about this system is how you become a minister. Under the old system, you're either a senator appointed by the prime minister or you're an MP of the winning party. Under our system, only qualified and competent persons will be appointed as ministers, and they cannot be a senator and they cannot be an MP. There must be somebody who is nominated by the executive branch of the government, uh, a qualified person who is fit for the position. When they're nominated, the Senate will vet them publicly. You'd have a public
Mhm.
hearing They come to the hearing, they look at their credentials, they look at their experiences, they look at their past positions that they've taken, and they interview them in the public so that the people can hear what this person is like, and what it will mean for them to be Minister of Justice or Minister of Education or Minister of Health. Once the Senate has publicly vetted them, the Senate will after that uh, recommend the person for election to the House, or do not recommend the person. They say, no, we don't recommend this person, or we do recommend this person. If they recommend the person to the House will then vote. That's the House of Representatives. These guys here will then vote to say whether the person should be appointed or not. What is also key is that, let's say the president wants to get rid of that person, he or she is not able to just fire them. The prime minister can fire and hire any one of them that he wants, which gives him enormous power.
Mm-hmm.
Under our system, the president has to go back to the Senate and make a case, and then the Senate has to investigate the case and then make a recommendation to the House, and the House takes a vote. So, what this will do, you're going to find that cross administration, a person can serve across different administration because they are good and competent, and not lose the position because the president don't like them, or because the president has lost an election or whatever. It's going to be a non-partisan system now, because parties are less important, because parties can't fund elections, parties can't interfere with a candidate, parties can't force a candidate on a community or a constituency. Now it's all driven from the community, and this will create an immense amount of protection for candidates. It will give them greater power and say, and it will ensure that the candidates now are focused on representing the people instead of representing a party.
I like that. So my final question to that before I move on to some other less heavy questions, but I definitely love the explanation, which put in my mind at ease that this is exactly the direction we need to go. But I would like to know, what if the people don't like a person that's representing them? How long does it take to get that person removed and get somebody else who is competent for that position? And do we have to wait a 4 year or a 5 year?
No, no. The people will be able to exercise recall. So we'll have a recall option embedded in the Constitution that allows the people, a certain percentage of them, indicating that they would like a recall election. And once you get to that percentage number, then you have a recall vote. But before you have that, you'll have a public hearing that's going to happen this time in the judiciary, not in the parliament, but the judiciary would hold a public hearing so that our judges and listen to the people through public presentation, and then based on the information that they receive from the people, they will be able to establish whether there's grounds for a recall or not, and then pass that through for a recall election. So that's just a check and balance to make sure we don't have frivolous recalls, but rather carefully adjudicated recalls to protect both the candidates and to protect the interests of the communities.
Awesome. All
Yes.
right. I like that. I like that. I like that. All right. So a list of questions that I have, and I want you to see if you can breeze through this as fast as
Sure,
you can.
no problem.
So, will there be a radio station for UIC
You mean like in the near future?
in the near future?
Well, I'd love to do that, and I will look to you and other creative minds to help us do that. I don't have the wherewithal to do it. One of the things that the UIC does for me, it makes me poorer and poorer every year. Uh, so so far, just to be very transparent, so far from literally from my own pocket, it's been $15 million from my own pocket. That's apart from any donations from anybody else. So my wife is very nervous. My kids are very nervous because every year I'm just spending, spending, spending. And but the good thing is, if you notice, we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to a point where it's no longer me spending so much, but we have enough Jamaicans from around the world and locally really contributing so we can give them the strongest political party to protect their interest ever, which is not, by the way, funded by big business. The moment we start to take money from big business, Ricardo, we're finished, because they will want to control the agenda, and they won't want the kind of policies that weakens the wealthy and strengthens the broader populace. So we have to guard against that. And we also don't want any money from foreign interest. We don't want foreign
Yeah.
interest coming in and giving us money, because then it's the same thing. They again will want us to pass laws and regulations that gives preferential treatment to them, and we can't afford that.
Yeah. I definitely agree. So one of the things that I'm thinking about is that would be a way for us to start generating some of the not just the engagement and awareness that we need, but also some of the monies that we need to put into some programs. I would recommend though that for the donation page, uh, you guys itemize the different
Hmm.
things that you're working on, so like people can make a choice about which programs they want to donate to, and I think that would increase, and that's just from my
Yeah.
communications background. But yeah, I think a radio station would be dope. I can see the All Our Welcome businesses advertising as a
Yeah.
contribution, late night deprogramming discussions,
Yeah.
maybe a 1 hour conscious music each day, and that would incentivize all the creatives who are really conscious in Jamaica to
Hmm.
start producing content that I feel like can be redistributed through UIC's digital platform.
That's a very good idea. I mean, maybe you have to become the organizer and developer of that radio station. I'll be happy to help you.
Yeah. Definitely, and I'm
Yes.
first to donate particular to that program because I
Yes.
see the benefits of us having that communication platform. Not saying that I don't see the benefits of everything else, but I
Yes.
would love to just see things itemized so I can pick the things that I want to contribute to immediately.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
No problem. I mean, right now it's our biggest need, of course, is to make sure that we have a strong contingent of candidates, and
Mm-hmm.
that they're able. Because what happened is most of our candidates are young people, right? Young people don't have assets, right? They don't have. Not even young people alone. Many Jamaicans in their 50s don't have anything.
Right.
They're struggling, right? Much more those who are 25, 35. So it's if you're a candidate in Jamaica, that's why most young people don't get involved.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the means. So what we're trying to do now is to encourage persons overseas to adopt a candidate,
Mm-hmm.
and giving a candidate $50, $100, $200 US go far away. I have candidates who they have to find money to just travel, and that's difficult, right?
Yeah.
They don't own a car, right? They're going to go into a community and shake hands and whatever, and they have to find money for that, refreshments, phone data to be online to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult for candidates, but they're so resilient and they're fighting. They're so committed, and where they lack financial resources, they have an abundance of heart and commitment to the cause, and it's just amazing to watch.
So I am obsessed with the idea of free banking and of just that whole
Mhm.
concept. Is it possible that we could kickstart this whole process right now before
Yes.
UIC gets into power? And what does that look like on the ground for a normal Jamaican?
Hmm. Well, I don't want to let this out yet, but we are working on something.
Okay,
We
okay, let's
we're
say it.
we're
Let's say
yeah
it.
we are yeah yeah we're quite advanced with it, and it's looking good. It's here's the beauty. I'll give you a little bit. Here's the beauty of it. It's going to be global, so it means that even people outside of Jamaica is going to be able to participate in it. Fully. I mean, like really fully. This is revolutionary. Is if you like what we have done with the political system, how remember, look at this. We're Jamaicans. Here are we, a bunch of black people in one of the smallest countries in the world that produce the fastest man and woman in the world. We have designed the best governance model the world has ever seen. We have done that. And we have just completed the design of the best monetary system the world is ever going to see. And it's going to come from Jamaica, and it's going to be applicable to every single country on the planet.
Oh God, you're talking my language now, man. Come on.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So, all right. So I'm gonna skip some of these questions you said now because the follow-up questions to what you just said. Big up Latoya, so she enjoying the discussion. Um,
yeah.
I have a big problem with modern day society and the lack of resources for creative. Um, and I know the UIC has gone over just, there's no real focus on any particular industry because the economy will be designed in such a way that it supports everyone. But
Mhm.
how do you think creatives will play a role in the future of Jamaica? And uh, I keep resorting to this whenever I have discussions about the lack of infrastructure for whether it's dancers. They go overseas and they make a lot of money.
Yes.
Do
Hmm.
tours in New Zealand, Australia, all these places, and they make a lot of money. But for some reason, the Caribbean and Jamaica itself seem to not put much emphasis on creatives. And what type of industries are we expecting to see and can start investing in, even though the UIC might not be the party in power right now?
Well, what the UIC has done is looked at what is our strategic advantage, what is our competitive advantage in the marketplace right now, right? So we have some places we want to go to and want to get to, but we're not there yet because our human resource has not been developed
Mm,
to be able to fully tap into those. But we can get there over time. But right now, I've met with the entertainment industry. I'm in conversation with some very key persons that are involved, and we see where what we can do now is at least to stop what is going wrong. And what's going wrong? We have the very government that is undermining local entertainers and
mhm.
giving preference to external entertainers. We have a hotel industry which is not catering to our local talents, but is shifting even the product to be away from our cultural norms and identities. So the most important thing is for us to stop the bleeding, stop the interference by government of devaluing our entertainers, devaluing our culture, and allowing that culture to blossom and bloom. When you create an environment that is empowering, then you're going to see our culture take off even more from an entertainment standpoint. The same thing for tourism, because I do believe we have a competitive advantage in tourism, even though some people might say it's not a good thing. All that's wrong with tourism is that it's not community based. That's really what's wrong with tourism in Jamaica. So we have to shift away from the all inclusive resorts and
Right,
make
right,
tourism in Jamaica all inclusive of Jamaicans. So you now need to make sure all 14 parishes are developed as tourist resorts. And by tourist resorts, I mean respect the Jamaican people enough to give them a safe, clean, beautiful, well manicured country, east to west, north to south. Let us be proud of who we are. Let us have a beautiful Jamaica and then let tourists come in and mingle with us throughout our communities. Let them come and sit in some backyards and play domino and
right,
eat a food and then get up afterwards and go to a community center where you have some really good folklore, beautiful Jamaican presentations happening, and then go to bed in a somebody house,
right.
because they want to be there, and they wake up in the morning and get a hot cup of chocolate tea and some dumpling and some
Yeah,
ackee and saltfish or some breadfruit and some callaloo, whatever it is. But let us have the product be Jamaica, not this fake version of these all-inclusive hotel. Them can still do that, but we
right,
want to make sure the real product is Jamaica, and that the Jamaican people now are touching the dollar. They're touching the exchange rate in their daily lives, as opposed to it have to trickle down through some other foreign powers that control the product. So these are the kind of things we want to do to, I tell you this, if we open up the community tourism industry by really investing in the Jamaican people and in our communities, you're talking about 500,000 jobs.
right.
That's a big. We're going to have to import labor to keep up with some of those. I hope I'm answering the question correctly, 'cause I'm not sure if I fully
Yeah, no,
understood, but that's where I want to go.
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the big questions I come across with people, and I'm on like Glean or fighting with people around these different policies or the star somewhere there. I'll be trolling. But
Yeah,
my thing is, I got my account deleted. Everybody know me probably on Facebook as Binami Ukweli. That's my African name. I haven't like,
mm.
officially changed it yet, but I try to get out of this name that I have right
Your
now.
European name, yes, Patterson and all
Yeah.
them foolishness there. Yeah,
Right. Right. But people often ask, where's the money gonna come from to do these things? And so I think people lack the understanding of how much money really flows through Jamaica. So I kind of want you to expound on where the money comes from.
sure, sure, sure. Okay, right now, the government alone, consumes 600 billion, 550 billion every year, right? That's their budget. Of that budget, close to 50% of it is paying back debts, bad debts. You know what a bad debt is? A bad debt is when a person owes a lot of money and have nothing to show for it. That's a
Right.
bad debt. You
Right.
understand? So our government is paying back a bad debt, a debt where they borrowed the money has disappeared. It has given some people some very big mansions and residences with chandeliers and beautiful tiles and carpet grass and all kind of stuff. But the Jamaican people are footing the bill to pay that. So where's the money going to come from? We also lose over 750 million US dollars every year to corruption. Every single year that's gone into corruption. So by us reducing the size of government, so contracting the size of government, and by us reducing the corruption in government, and by us renegotiating the loan, a lot of it is, by the way, local loan, so it's owed to the local banks,
Mm-hmm.
and these are actually unethical debts that the banks should actually write off at least 50% of, because they were earned under dubious circumstances, which I can clearly present to them what those circumstances are and why we need to renegotiate them, and then we have to also build the productive capacity of the country by the policies I've spoken about. So, for example, the moment we remove the regulatory frameworks which are blocking small and medium and micro businesses from exploding, and which are protecting big businesses and keeping our people suppressed, once we get rid of those regulations and open up the market, you're going to find that our job creation ability at the bottom level, the grassroots level, is going to explode. That is also going to mean we're adding now to the national revenue, because once your economy is blooming, that's going to add to the national revenues. The key thing, though, to understand how the UIC operates, it's not how much money the government has, it's how much money the government allows to be a part of the productive sector. So I want to shift it, because the money that goes to the government, a lot of it is wasted. Eh? It's hot here. You're paying for air condition, for offices, for buildings, for persons who are sitting in boardrooms, saying that they're sitting on a board. That's doing nothing for Jamaica. We still have Air Jamaica board when Air Jamaica is gone. So we still have people sitting on boards for Air
Right.
Jamaica,
Right. Right.
like
Right.
collecting monies, right? So we have to stop this, right? We
That's a
have to get rid of.
disgrace. See?
It's a
Um.
disgrace. So we
Yeah.
have to stop the nepotism. We have to stop the political jobs and get rid of all of those stuff and let people go back to work. Go to work in producing, planting, producing. We're going to unleash a massive construction project, because, like Singapore did in the 1960s and 70s, we're going to get every Jamaican into property ownership, and that means a massive building boom is going to take place in Jamaica. We're going to separate ourselves from the IMF once again, but this time permanently and properly. So we're now going to have full control of our money again. So we can actually control the volume of our money. And we're going to remove the fake restrictions on interest rate and the fake restrictions on exchange rate, so that Jamaicans can start to benefit truly from having their own currency and having a government that is able to match that currency with our productivity, so it starts to grow and expand the economy. So we're fixing that. So we're gonna, with the massive housing boom that we're going to do, we're going to also free up all of the crown lands. So there'll be no such thing as crown land anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be strategic about it. We're not simply going to free up these lands and then give them to people who then can't build. They're just going to sit there. They can't build
Right.
anything. Therefore, so we're going to have a housing development to get rid of the squatter community, to get rid of the garrison communities, to get rid of the ghetto communities, and replace them with really nice condominiums, world class standard, and move the people into these housing developments. A mass of people, those who have unfinished homes, we're now going to give them, like we're doing with the others who are moving into these, we're going to give them intergenerational mortgages and have those homes completed very, very quickly. This is going to have a multiplier effect of anywhere between 15 and 20 in the economy. So in a
Mm,
very short time, we're talking massive growth. We're
right.
going to shift. We're going to shift also into the organic production sector. So we're going to now have massive organic farms as we get rid of the chemicals and so on that's damaging our environment, damaging our soil, and creating cancers, and move the people now into organic farming. Now, what this is going to do for Jamaica, we're gonna pick a leaf from the book of the Netherlands. You might not know this, but the Netherlands is a small European country, but they're the second largest exporter of food in the world. How do you
Oh,
do that? They did that by applying food technology. So they have like vertical farms. They
yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
know about
you know,
vertical for that.
exactly. So vertical farm, they carefully use water, hydroponics, nutrients management, and greenhouse effects to get very high quality. I'm building a greenhouse right now. I mean, I have this massive greenhouse and I'm building it in my backyard. And these guys, I've been to their country and seen it. It's just amazing what intelligence can do,
Right.
Ricardo. And so
When you're
we're
free to
going,
exercise your mind.
geez, man.
Yeah.
So we're going to turn Jamaica, I like to call it this, the organic food capital of the world. So we're going to start to export to everywhere, organics. But here, how I'm going to give the people ownership of the land, rather than give them the land to go sit down and watch it bush up, we're going to give them shares in the organic farms. So they
Right.
own the shares. So they still own it now, but by shares, so that they will get the income, but those who know how will produce the output that brings the profits.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those who know how. And so most of our good lands now, which are being stolen, which are being mismanaged, which are being destroyed by the current government and those before, building homes on land that is for agriculture. Madness. So we're gonna also wipe out the mining industry, park that, and restore and reclaim our lands and our diversity. I don't know if you know about permaculture. Have you heard of permaculture?
I've heard of it. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure.
So what
Um.
permaculture is, it is a kind of agricultural technique that actually balances the entire ecosystem in the process. So you don't
Mm,
have any one of the system going on, but at the same
right.
time, it yields massive fruit output, right? In terms of different, so you have like fruit forest or food forest. So Jamaica has a lot of forest, but it's dead forest. It's not really
Mm,
producing
mm,
much. So we're going to start to rehabilitate that and convert it into mass permaculture food forests, which then will mean food security for Jamaicans and surplus for export. The same with water, Ricardo. We're going to make sure we create permaculture water harvesting schemes around the country and link them so we never have a water shortage, and then we can start exporting water. And we're going to also now use up our sea spaces and sand spaces that are not for enjoyment, and some of our hills, and get now our solar and geothermal and biogas energy production up, and gradually keep reducing our reliance on fossil fuel, so that we bring down the cost of energy, which increase our competitiveness manufacturing wise, create more jobs, and allow the best and brightest Jamaicans to stay here. One last thing, just to for you to see the full connection, because when we talk about crime, this is how you solve crime. It's not by those
Right.
foolishness. You have to fix the economic and other issues. So one of the things we're going to do with our school system, as a child, as long as you are performing, you will be funded. So let's say you're bright enough to go from high school to undergraduate, and yet but your parents don't have the whole heap of money, you'll be funded. If you can go to the master's level, you'll be funded. If you can go to the PhD level, you'll be funded. Why are we doing this? We have to mass produce the intellect of our people quickly and get us to where we should have been 30 years ago. We have short circuited our people with a poor quality education. We have to quickly change that and just accelerate the knowledge base of our people so that we can start now be scientists and innovators. So nobody in the commentator is going to juke us with something. We can
Right.
assess what is what, and we can say, no, 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 no. We have our own. So we stop begging and waiting. We stop saying, we have a problem. What can Cuba give us? What can Canada give us? No, no, no. We now must be a country that says, Canada, would you like some help from us?
Right.
Cuba, do
Right.
you want some help from us? Our scientists have figured out what's going on here. We can use this, and oh, we have figured out how to use this herb and so on. We have extracted this substance. We have built this new compound. We have created this new solution. We must become innovators and creators and stop being beggars. I'm tired of it.
So I have a little, and I thank you for everything you just said, because I think it adds context to where we're going as a society and the work that has to be done, especially
Yeah.
by us Jamaicans. And I wait to hear what your plan looks like. Sounds exciting, but I won't press you for the details. But I think one of the things that I'm worried about right now for people who are overseas in the diaspora, and you know, we're not conforming to the joke. As the UIC taking into consideration into how these people will return home should the UIC be, no, when the UIC becomes government.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, the UIC has we have an idea, you see, that Jamaicans overseas are as much Jamaicans as Jamaicans at home. That's our philosophy. We
Hmm.
see Jamaica as all of us, including those in the diaspora. And so we believe that, our governments have given concessions to foreigners all the time. Every time a foreigner comes to Jamaica, they get concessions. So we want to reverse that. We want to give concessions to Jamaicans. So every
Right.
Jamaican who want to come home, no duty. So duty free return. So you pay no duty at all to bring your vehicle, your furniture, your intellectual properties, your everything that you want to bring back, you bring it back. I don't see what is the big deal. Why do we want to make your life miserable to come back to your own country? That is so ridiculous. So we want to make it as super easy as possible for you to come back. And bigger than that, um, Don, I'm going to call you Don from now on. Don Yhavui. Bigger than that, we want to make sure that your return is as comfortable and as productive as possible. So we want to give you information before you come. You want to understand. You want information on a particular industry. You want information on a community. You want information on business opportunities. You must be able to get all of that pre-coming. And so when you hit the ground, you hit the ground running. You must be able to hire people easily. You must be able to register your business just like that, 24-hour turnaround. You must be able to access a bank account 24 hours, just like that. Not this miserable process I have now. Right now, we punish Jamaicans
Right.
both home and abroad. The system we have here, it just punishes people. It is punishing for you to live in Jamaica. It is punishing for you to return to Jamaica. It is sickening. How can you build a country where the government exists to punish and torture the people as opposed to making it easier and easier and easier for the people to get things done? It's miserable.
Yeah. Seed banking. What's your
Seed
thoughts on
banking, yes. I think that's a great idea. As a matter of fact, it's more than a great idea. It is a life-saving idea. It is a survival idea. I don't think many people that are listening to you now might know what seed banking is. I'll just summarize it. The bottom line is this: there is a concerted effort by some the same kind of people who build the so-called substance that they're now trying to inject in you. These same people have created genetically modified seeds, which makes you dependent upon them by giving you seeds that you can't replicate, that you
Mm-hmm.
can't plant over and over and over. They want to destroy seeds that you can plant over. They want to push them out of the market and make you dependent on their genetically modified seed, which then drives up the cost of farming and drives small people out of farming. They did
Mm-hmm.
that with fertilizer, they did that with pesticides and herbicides, and they've done that with seeds. So a seed bank in Jamaica, long ago, we should have had a seed bank here where we're capturing, preserving, and making sure that we protect the integrity of our seeds and not allow all kind of invasive, what they call them now, GMO seeds to come in and kill off our sector. You know, agriculture in Jamaica has been destroyed by the government of Jamaica. And
Mm-hmm.
one day I'll explain to you how. But it's the very government that has destroyed our farmers. And I wish farmers understand this. If they do, every farmer would vote UIC because we're the only government that is committed to actually restoring farming in Jamaica for farmers, for Jamaicans to have good quality, clean food to eat and to export to the rest of the world.
Yeah, awesome. I remember watching a documentary with Michael Manley. He was talking about going to the IMF and getting these short-term loans, and how that is structurally designed to destroy all parts of our agriculture, the economy as a whole. But um, I think for me, one of the questions that I have around farming and as far as trades in school, what does it look like? Not just the farming
Mhm.
most importantly, because we will need to have our own food. And I think
Yes.
follow-up question to that is, you know, so what will it look like in school, and how will we what I know you use the term we tether the money to our productivity, but what
Yes.
exactly does that look like? Because I know
Mean, yes.
you could tether money to your to jackfruit if jackfruit is the highest selling thing in our
Yes,
country.
yes, yes.
But I'm
Yes.
trying to explain what is the UIC's plan here.
Sure, sure. So when we talk about backing our money or pegging our money to productivity, it is with great thought. It's because I understand economics. I would never tie our money to the US dollar, for example, or tie our money to gold, or tie our money to jackfruit. And I'll tell you why. Gold is not something we produce in Jamaica, so it means you would have tied your monetary supply to something you have no control over, which your people have no control over. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't tie it to jackfruit because jackfruit can fluctuate tremendously based on time of year, disease, all kind of issues, right? But if you take aggregate production, meaning no matter what people are doing, they're producing. So if some are planting
Mm-hmm.
colorado, if some are doing radio, whatever, it's all. So you can now say if you map your money to production, then you're balancing the needs of the people. What is the purpose of backing a money by anything? It is really to eliminate what we call artificial inflation.
Inflation, yeah.
Artificial, eh? 'Cause there are two types of inflation. There is natural inflation, and then there's artificial inflation. Natural inflation occurs when, for example, a product goes short because of natural disaster. So let's say we had a big hurricane and it wiped out all of the banana in that year. The banana plantations mash up. So now you only have a few that were missed by the winds, and so now you have less bananas. But everybody who like banana still want to buy banana. So they're all bidding for the same banana. So the price of banana is going to go up. And price movement is a way of signaling to the market what's happening. So prices are okay. Price tells you what's happening in the market. What you don't want, however, is an artificial price change due to government policy, bad policy. For example, in Jamaica, we have consistently run deficits, meaning the government spends more than it earns and then borrow the difference. That's a mismatch now between the production of the people and the money supply. Now so Jamaica now imports America inflation by borrowing American dollars, pushing it into the economy. It's artificial and it destroys the value of our dollar. It destroys our purchasing power and it puts seniors at risk. So if you, Ricardo, was working in Jamaica from age 25 to 65, which is 40 years, and you were saving every year towards your retirement, based on government policy, it would wipe out the value of your savings and make you poor at the time of your retirement, even though you were very productive for the 40 years, right? So it's artificial poverty that they've placed on you. Many Jamaicans don't notice that it's the government that's making them poor.
Right, right,
Now,
right.
with the UIC system, what we do, we match the money supply now through what we call free banking to production so that as production changes, new money comes into the market to match the productivity growth. So you
Mm,
never have an oversupply of money or an undersupply of money, and you now keep prices stable. So you won't have these massive spike in prices unless it's by natural means like hurricane and so on. Then now if you worked from age 25 to 65 and you've worked for 40 years, then you have saved up, let's say 10% of your income every month, and that has grown with investments that you're doing, just plain interest because the money is loaned out. What this will do at age 65, you will have more than enough money. Okay, you're not going to need the same kind of expenditures because you're now, not children going to school anymore and whole heap of stuff. You will have enough money, the value of your money maintained, and you'll be able to live a decent life. If we don't do these things, we'll continue to impoverish the Jamaican people until eventually the dollar becomes 300 to 1, 500 to 1, 1,000 to 1. And the smarter people, the more educated people, given the poor quality of life here, will be snatched up by America and Canada and leave us with mostly the lower educated persons and the more difficult, those who are disadvantaged by whatever means and therefore not at the level to be able to be highly productive. So our production will continue to go down, the value of our dollar continues to go down, our standard of living continues to go down, and then the Chinese will come in, buy up the land, buy up the stuff, and we will become tenants in our own country, slaves again in our own country. We'll sweep the floor, mop the floor, clean the toilets, cook the food for our masters, our Chinese masters, or American masters, or Spaniard masters, and they'll live in the big houses, the nice environment. We will live in unfinished houses. You can't paint your house. The roof would, tear up. Your bathroom toilet break up, and you can't. So that's where they're leading Jamaica. So the longer we follow these two parties, we're heading straight back into looking more and more like slaves and less like a developed people.
yeah, that's all right. You touched on a couple of great points there. Um, I do want to ask this question though, as far as like with all right, that one slipped me for a little bit,
No
but
problem.
also I did ask about what does school look like for
School, yes, yes. What does a school look like? A UIC schooling is going to be 150,000% different from what you're seeing now. So first of all, we're moving to an Afrocentric system. So for the first time in the history of Jamaica, and for the first time in the history of Africa for a long time, because the Africans have lost their control over themselves, the people in Africa. When I went to Ghana, I was shocked to see that Ghana is just a big Jamaica. They followed the same kind of constitution, the same kind of politics, and had the same kind of results, even though they have 1,000 times more assets than us. They have gold, they have oil, they have
right?
diamonds, they have minerals, and they're poor. So our education system is going to be Afrocentric, meaning we're going to re educate our people about why we are where we are. Not just to tell some little um, stories to say we
Feel
used to
good
be kids.
stories.
Kids,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, feel good. Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, feel good. What we want is to feel understanding. We want to understand. Why are we here? Why are we at the bottom? And this book here is critical to helping with that. Right? It's called The Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. A very brilliant book for any Jamaican to read. Now we're going to teach Jamaican people what brought us here and how to get out of it. A key part of our education program is going to do something that has not been done before in any recent years. Instead of math, English, and science being the focus of our education, you know, what's going to be the focus of our education is self, relationships, and money. We're going to make sure our children understand themselves, mind, body, and personality so that they can build strong character, very strong mind, and understand how to manage this asset that God has given them. Your body is your greatest asset. Your mind is your greatest asset. We don't know how much asset we're sitting on. We're looking for somebody out there to come and help us,
Right,
for
right.
somebody to come and give us something. When God has given us the best asset possible, a mind, a body like no other, and the possibility of creating a strong character. And with that character, you can move mountains. So that's number one. Number two in the curriculum now is to look at human behavior and human relationships. How do you build strong family bonds? How do you build strong friendships? How do you build strong business relationships? How do you relate to people and solve problem, conflict resolutions? So that's key, so that we know how to work together. We know how to appreciate each other. We understand human nature and human behavior. Now, with that in place, all that's left is for you to understand money. And money includes economics, politics, and government. Very important. Economics, politics, and government. So, understanding money, monetary systems, how money works, the science behind money, the principles of money, how to earn money, how to create money, how to safeguard money, how to invest money, how to plan money, how to have a good relationship with money. And if you master those three things I just mentioned, then you are set for life. Instead of us creating you to look for a job, we
Mm-hmm.
would have helped you to become the best possible human being you can be. And then, of course, you learn the math because you have to
Right,
learn math within
right.
this, and you
Yeah.
learn the science, and you learn the English or communication, and so on. But the focus is on mastering self, mastering relationships, and mastering money. Of course, with the trade skills, our science program, instead of having science, physics, chemistry, and bio, we shift from that. We want to go to integrated science, but integrated with what? We want to show you the connection between all of the sciences, link that with technology, and link that with trade. So you learn how the science you're learning is practically employed in the trades, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, masonry, and so you can understand the chemistry and the physics behind what you're doing. And also the technology, the robotics, the coding, the neurology, and seeing all of that and say, my God, the whole thing makes perfect sense. And from that now we create the most innovative nation. Jamaica will shift from being a labor intensive country to an intelligence driven country. And the whole
Mm-hmm.
world, because of our geographic location, will be knocking on our doors to bring their offices here, to set up their quarters here, to bring their research and development here. And that is going to move our GDP per capita from 79,000 to anywhere from 80 to 100,000, surpassing even Singapore, who has done phenomenally well.
Are you going to require businesses that are not necessarily Jamaican one, whether in the diaspora or inside Jamaica? Are you going to be requiring these businesses to employ a certain amount of Jamaicans or create trade programs within their companies? And then a second question is, what will happen with the deals, some of the bad deals that we spoke about that was made with the
Mhm.
Chinese
Right.
under UIC government?
Right. So On your first questions, no, we're not going to interfere with an employer's right to choose who they want to hire. The trick is they can't bring anybody into Jamaica to hire them. You know, they have to make
Yeah,
a big case for that. So if you come here to do business, you come here to do business. You don't come here to bring an army of people with you. You know what I mean? So while we're not going to say to you, you have to employ this number of Jamaicans, what we're not going to allow you to do is to displace Jamaicans. So you don't come here and just bring an army, because all of those persons have to apply for residency and apply
right,
to work
right.
in Jamaica, and we'll deal with that. Um, uh, for example, I've seen this in the entertainment industry where they have actually brought in entertainers into Jamaica on the pretext that we don't have enough. Or I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean,
You're
we
right.
don't have, we have more than enough, and so on. So, anyways, to your next question though, which was on the issue now of, what was it again? The second part of the question.
Yeah. So I was trying to understand. Yeah, I was trying to understand. One, about people investing, and two, what was the other question? Sorry, I thought I heard my daughter's voice just now,
Yeah,
and
I know it's right. It's distracting. I understand that. No worries. So yeah.
um,
Go ahead.
yeah, but my mom in the chat saying talk about the proceeds from the song. So I'll cover that real quickly, and then I see if I remember the question.
Sure.
Um, so me and Devin, we spoke, and sometime soon there will be a more full digital market on the UIC's website that will be able to accommodate hopefully more creatives, because I know a lot of them, and I will be trying to activate them
Mhm.
as soon as that is present. And so all fundings from the song will go to the UIC, will not be upon Spotify or any of these other white owned streaming platforms. And hopefully the price is at like $10 or $20, even though a song sells for like $1.99. But it's just to incentivize people in the diaspora to say, well, I'm exchanging this $10 for this song, but the money is going to a greater cause. You have heard Mr. Patterson, you know the mission, and you know the mission of the people behind him. I think I realized UIC was a different kind of party when anybody could become a minister or challenge the president. I think that is some dangerous game you're playing there, but I
No, no, it's not
understand the
dangerous.
politics.
No, it's not. No, how can it be dangerous if somebody comes up and say that they are capable of doing a much better job than me, and demonstrate that to to the membership and the Jamaican people, then that person deserves to run for president of the UIC. And you're not even challenging me. What you're doing is offering the Jamaican people an opportunity to be led by the best qualified person to serve. I don't think I am the most qualified person to serve the Jamaican people. There's probably somebody out there much better than me. What I have done is just to step up to the plate and to offer, not even myself, I've just thrown myself into helping, because I'm tired of not seeing what we need to see.
Yeah,
So there's some guys out there, honestly, they might be much brighter than me. They can tell you a better story, they can say whatever. I just want to have a free Jamaica that brings out the best in the people of Jamaica. That's all. So whether it's me as president or somebody else, that's not the issue. So the UIC is open. Feel free to come and say, I want to be vice president. I want to be president. I want to be on the board. I want to serve as an MP. We don't stop nobody. You just have to prove yourself. And you prove yourself, and the people decide. But your question was about the bad deals that Jamaica
oh
may have
yeah.
made. Yeah, I just saw our technical person here telling us this. Now, Jamaica has made many bad deals. One of them is even our banking system, our monetary system. We have made concessions to various countries and their investors, whether it's China. I don't want to pick on China, because China is just doing what any colonizer would do, right? They
Yeah,
come and they're looking for an opportunity, and if your leaders are dumb enough to make bad deals, they're going to take advantage of it, right? So America has done it to us, England has done it to us, Spain has done it to us, and now China
E-
is here
e-
getting their piece. Yeah.
Even Trinidad has done it to us.
Even
I want
Trinidad
to
has done it to us. Yeah.
I want to tell you, I read about a trade deal where we were paying to send back empty oil barrels to Trinidad, and I was
Right.
like, "Who signed this
Yeah.
agreement?" You know?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I am like, let me explain everything as an incentive, right? Our politicians, don't get me wrong. If you ever get the impression, and I'm suggesting to you that any of our politicians are dummy, that's not true. They're
Yeah,
not dumb.
I know.
They're led by incentives. So I am a dummy, actually. I am the dummy here. Like, here's a dummy that I am, right? I choose to buck the trend. I choose to create a new party when it's a lot easier to just join one of the other two.
Yeah,
I choose to spend my money, which I will never get back because the only way to get it back is to be a crook, right?
yeah,
So if I've spent $15 million so far, the only way for me to get back in politics, the only way to get back that 15 million is if I'm going to steal from the Jamaican people. Now, when a politician comes to your constituency and spends, like in the election they had in Portland, where the JLP spent $40 million to win that seat, and the PNP spent $38 million to win that seat. So together they spend almost $80 million to win one seat, where the MP gets what, less than $4 million or so
right.
for his pay. So you're getting $4 million for your pay, and you're spending $40 million to win the seat. Why? It's because it's valuable, and they know the value of the seat. If they win the seat, they know they're going to make back more than the $40 million. That's why you
Mhm.
can spending in my election when I competed here in Northeast St. Elizabeth back in 2016 as an independent candidate. I spent $700,000 and I got about 100 votes. And when they bring it down by the ballots that they said are bad ballots, it was about 86 or somewhere there on $700,000 after 2 weeks of campaigning. I joined it late, right? Now, those who competed from the two parties spent between them roughly $30 million between them. Why did they do that? They know that when they're elected, they're going to find various ways to suck that money back out of
Mhm.
the system and enrich themselves. Now, the Jamaican people don't understand that. So they think that they're just voting for somebody and he's just going to go in and he's going to be a saint. They're hoping to get a saint in. The system is designed to operate the way it does. Now, the
Mhm.
UIC is doing something impossible. We are trying now to change that system. How do we do that? We have to get funding to be able to get elected. If we get funding by the same people who fund the others, then they will expect us to do the same thing that the others do. So
Yeah,
we have to get the funding from ordinary people. But the ordinary people have been trained not to fund
right.
parties. They have been trained to expect politicians to come and feed them and fet them and buy them and then go in and serve them. And so, because they have this mistaken concept of what's going on, they continue to always end up with the two major parties, which are funded by the private sector, and they're wondering why no third party can win. The only way for a third party to win is if the people of Jamaica get fed up and say enough is enough, open their ears long enough, pay attention enough to say they now have to fund, volunteer, and vote for a party that represents them. They have to own the UIC. They can't own the PNP. That's already owned. They can't own the GLP. They're already owned. So they have to own the UIC. Now there's a fourth party out there that came in after us, the JPP. Now that party says they have funding from other sources, other thing, and they're a religious party, and so they have a religious objective. So if they were to be able to garner enough attention and support and win, when they win, they would be implementing a religious objective which may not be in the best
Yeah.
interest of some people.
Right, right, right.
So we have to, so I'm trying to educate us to understand what we're up against and what
Yeah.
we're doing. The reason I created the UIC is because I knew that one day Jamaica is going to come to the breaking point. And what will they vote for? Will they end up voting for something worse than even what they have now because they don't know what's going on? So I provided the UIC to save us from the possibility of voting for even worse than what we have now. Let's say, for example, we vote for a religious extremist party that then
Mhm.
comes in and completely, destroys our individual sovereignty and trying to push us and force us all into one. Let's say it's a Rasta party, or it's a Poca party, or it's a Catholic party, or it's
Right.
whatever. Do we want that, or do we want our real freedoms? And that's what the
Yeah.
UIC is pursuing.
Yeah. I want to tell you, and give you your roses, while you're with us. I knock on wood.
Hmm.
Hopefully, that's 250,000 years. But I said that to say, you know, like, it would be it would be a certain type of person to spend $15 million of their own money. And I hope the Jamaican public, when they look at, analyze and say, objective thinking is so necessary, right? It's a critical part of like how we operate and should operate, and we must assess our own biases, biases for party, biases for the colors we like and why we like them. What I mean? Biases for everything, because everything we think about, it's the placebo effect, I feel like, to just create bias. And so I would hope that people understand that it's not by no way an easy means to come by $50 million, and it's I would assume it's double hard to spend that, not um being sure what the return is. So I assume you're very invested, and you're a man of great integrity to feel like the outcome of this will be, on the side of good. And so I commend you for that. I commend you for everybody that's in the audience. I, you know, when I wrote the song "Real Man I Road," there's a lot of contributing factors, but I think in my mind, it's the first time in a long while, um, I'm seeing any sight of what freedom actually looks like. I'm getting an understanding of what is real freedom. And so it's crazy when you play with all these different systems. You go from one country to the next, and you say, well, this country is a little bit better than my country. Why can't my country be like this country? And you think it's freedom that they have there, but it's another type of divisive oppression. And so I really congratulate uh, uh, you for stepping up for your people, stepping up for us, and we are here, to support you, to make sure that this thing becomes a reality. And so there's one other question that I have. It's not. You could just rate this question on a scale of 1 to 10. Um,
Okay.
and this is me trying to use my objective thinking about the question I asked you earlier about what can be done now. And so I was thinking, what would it look like to have some type of committee that go around identify unused lands that are not crown lands but owned by people who might be interested in the idea,
Mm.
uh, cash crops being grown. And we have people who are adept at farming to train and recruit young kids, and to tie that with the issue of crime. I was wondering, in these sensitive communities where kids, or young people live, that are, playing with the guns and the scamming and all these different, distractions from what's really going on here. Um, what does it look like to, so one, I want you to rate the system, and then two, I want you to tell me, do you think it would be a good move to make some type of mandatory, especially for people who have been known troublemakers in these communities, to show up at these farms within the daytime and really put in some work, especially if you end up at a courthouse, a judge might refer you to this program to say, hey, you take part in this program rather than lock you up or put something on your record for a misdemeanor that might just change the whole trajectory of your life.
Mm. Well, rating the idea, if we have a government like the one we're talking about, then it's a 10 out of 10. If we have what we have now, there's a lot of complications to getting that done. I particularly like the part about using it as a part of the penal system. So, the UIC believes that our penal system should be designed to truly reform people. Right now, it turns criminal into greater
Uh,
criminals.
yeah,
So, so we have to shift that and to become more a corrective institution, which includes work as a primary part of it and productive work. So my personal objective is to turn our prison system into one that creates productive persons coming out of it, and while they're in it, for them to be paying the cost of being there. So they must be engaged in farming, for example, light technology, manufacturing, um, even in horticulture and food forestry, all that kind of stuff, using up our prisoners to be productive and to be improved in their own skills and competences, so when they come out they're very meaningful. So that's a great program. I think it would work very well. I like community farms as well, where you have community plots. So I saw something when I was in China that blew my mind. You have like the overpasses and
right,
stuff like that, right? All these different things, and every little plot of land that they had, little areas under the overpass, I was shocked. They turned it into a little farming plot. So you're driving by, and you're going over the overpass, and you look down, and you see a little lady working in her plot right under the overpass, and it
right,
looks, and it's nice and neat, and the rows and everything. So they're So if I was driving on our highway, this whole heap of bush, and nothing. I'm saying, why do people them can't?
right,
Let's
right,
turn
right,
let's turn these little areas, man, into food production. I'm looking forward to the day when the UIC takes government and can lead our people. Our people just want leadership, They
right,
just want leaders who care, leaders who want them to be better off, leaders who want a Jamaica. How can you, as Prime Minister, drive from Norman Manley International Airport to your home and feel pride? Just
right,
drive along the stretch. How can you drive and see people and our roads and our communities? Like, you drive through these communities and you see this every day. You have people in our parliament who have been there for 30 years. The prime minister right now, he has been in politics for more than 25 years.
mm,
How can you live with yourself to drive past this every time I leave the airport? Because I have traveled so much. I mean, I'm tired now. I don't want to travel anymore. I'm done with it, right? But every time I come home from the air, beautiful. You're just looking into this beautiful country, this wonderful Jamaica. You're like, oh my God, I love my country. And you drop in the airport and you walk through security and you head outside and you look a nice area and you drive out. And as soon as you go out, you say, Lord of mercy, look for my country. And you see the little old something, you see the little dirty, you see the box, the bag, the can, the raw dirt, the unkept and untrained thing, and it not balanced, it is not aesthetically appealing.
yeah,
Then you get some air, it's smelly. You try through some community, the raw sewage. Why? How can our politician live in and I know them have sense, okay, if you go to them house, when you
right.
drive up to them house, I mean, they
Very
live
nice
in
the barbecue.
mansions.
Right.
Yeah. The front lawn is nice and good, and they have flowers, and they have nice walls. And how come they don't want that for the whole country? Why is it they don't want the average Jamaican to live in a decent, good looking, good smelling, clean? pretty, and we have the ability. We have the people to do the work. The people want the work. Instead, I want to give them little Christmas work to go chop
Yeah.
some bush. We don't
Right.
want chop bush. We want to be tending to well designed our we call it now landscape, beautiful landscapes, and we're now meticulously maintaining a landscape. And so when the people them now come from abroad, you know, when the foreigner come and they drop at Norman Manley, and they, before they even the beer they drive out, they're like, my gosh,
Yeah.
my gosh, my gosh. And then when you and I step out in the morning to go to work, we're head held high. We feel so proud. We feel good about ourselves because the way our country looks, the way it feel, the way it smell. You know, if you must have the lemongrass trees that grow along the side, and you just smell the whiff of lemongrass coming through. You have the peppermints along some area. You have beautiful apple trees. You know, you see the nice red apple interspersed with some nice sweet sop and so on. You just go pick one and eat. It's designed as a part of the ecosystem.
Right.
The kids have not got teeth anymore because they can just easily get a mango,
Yeah.
get a jackfruit. It's there
Now if you
because
the
the
same effect.
government, yeah,
All
the
right.
government would have facilitated this wide cross section of production that makes us free as a people. Nobody now for hungry
Mhm.
because the country is designed to feed us. I don't know. I cannot understand for the life of me why after 77 years my country still look and feel the way it is. People have to be afraid to go down to some areas. They're afraid to go to Tivoli, afraid to go to Bakto, afraid to go a Jonestown. Why? Afraid to walk down a Beeson Street. Feel afraid to walk down our street. The capital. You go to the capital of Jamaica, our capital city, and it is not the safest and cleanest and most orderly and most beautiful place. And by the way, I don't believe in any form of discrimination. I want all of Jamaica to be treated equally. So I
Yeah.
don't want Kingston to be better than Spanish Town, or
Yeah.
Spanish Town better
Well, at
than
least the
Mayfield.
capital. Well,
Yeah,
at least the
yeah.
capital.
But at least the capital should be.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have gone 1 hour and 16 minutes over our time,
I
but I
enjoyed it.
thank you so much.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of it. And obviously the
Yes,
people are enjoying it too. And
yes.
so really can I play another song because I have a new
Yeah, man. Go
topic.
ahead. Let's hear another song. Go ahead,
All right.
please. We'll finish
Awesome.
with that. So, my friends online, all of you, I've been seeing your comments. They're very nice. I appreciate them very much. Please like and subscribe. Now, remember this, everybody. TVJ and CVM and the traditional radio stations, they're not telling the Jamaican people about the UIC. They're not asking us our opinion. They're not sharing our views. So we're totally dependent on you to share this. Tell all your families to subscribe to UIC Liberty TV anywhere they are, in Africa, in Germany, in India, in the US, Canada. Tell them to subscribe. Let's bring our subscription up from where it is now to 500,000 people, Jamaicans around the world, so that they can hear from us what mainstream media does not want the rest of Jamaica to hear. So like and share and subscribe and comment, and let us reach all Jamaicans and build a coalition to restore our country, at least to rescue our country, and then make it a beautiful place to live and work and retire to. Go ahead, my friend.
Thank you again for having me, Mr. Patterson, and thanks to everybody in the audience. I saw Lydia earlier. Um, loving the conversation. And Patsy was asking about a representative for Portland. I would love to hear your answer for that before I play the song, Mr. Patterson. Do we have it?
Sure. I honestly don't know who the representative is for Portland yet. I know that we just concluded some interviews, and I'll be able to get an update and share with you guys soon.
All right, awesome. All right, thanks again for having me.
My pleasure. Go ahead. You're going to play the song, or it's me?
Oh,
I'm not hearing it. So, Yeah, I'm not hearing it. Maybe we have to share it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, go ahead now. Okay, let me know when you're ready and I'll put it up. Are you ready?
Oh, you hear me? I sent it to you because it wasn't playing on my side. My bad.
Oh, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, let me see if I am able to do that. Let's see here. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. All right. I am trying here. Okay, good. So I should be able to do that now. Give me a second. Let's try that. Let's do that.
It's the one that called Many Will Die.
Yes. This is. Yeah. Here we go. Share. All right.
Deep to the eye of the eagle, looking at the man see the evil. Something very strange and wrong. Something very strange. Mankind not dirty like water. Mm. Mankind not dirty than water. Isn't it funny how them laugh and talk with you, not knowing that the Almighty walk with you? Yeah, we God bless him now forfeit us. Them get a chance to murder you, them now pass it up. Just true, y'all say we are not cock it up and well one give me them garage fi park the truck. Them want me drop and crack up like a coffee cup, but I them same y'all I tell them say me hard fi broke. Hey, star quality, star quality. Star quality, star quality, star quality. Star quality, star quality, star quality. Hey, star quality, star quality. Yo, well, I do same one them hug your hand tell you say they love you and tell you how they never put no one above you. Them dry eye, them who you kiss you and a bun you such a fine line between the Christmas and the summer. In other words, man, heart change like the weather. Them change, them face for weird change like them brother. All the fame them a chase and lose sight of the church about me heart still light as if feather. Star quality, star quality. Star quality, star quality, star quality.
So I'm playing the wrong one.
You are. That's
Okay.
okay.
All
But
right. So no worries. So was that your song or somebody else's song I was
yeah,
playing?
that was my song. And you
Okay,
can
good.
check me
Well,
out on SoundCloud, guys. Just started putting up back some music and all platforms. Dan Yavu or Ricardo White.
all right, wonderful. So sorry I couldn't get the connections right, but we'll do it again some other time.
All
Thank
right,
you so much, Ricardo White, for
all right.
blessing us with your presence and for your beautiful questions and for allowing us to have a wonderful discussion. My friends, Ricardo White is the producer, the writer, the singer of Real Manayad. And we're going to close off tonight with you hearing a little bit of that song again. You'll hear it on the closing. Will I be able to do that? I'm not even sure. Let me see, because I don't do the technology part of this so well enough. But let me try something. Let me see here if this works. Okay. No, that's not it. All right. Well, tell you what. Thank you guys very much again for joining me tonight. I have stayed over my time by an hour and a half almost. So now it's time for me to leave you. But tomorrow, maybe I'll be on. We'll see. Depends on what the producer tell me. But you have a good night, and please stay safe, stay focused. Don't allow them to trick you into all kind of foolishness, whether it's a fake, what do you call it now, a fake republic or a fake vaccine or anything like that. You just stay alert, pay attention, and don't give up or give in. We need to stay together, stick together. We're stronger together, and let's protect our country that we call Jamaica. All right? All the best, and good night to you all. Take care.